Alrighty, on this cold, windy, on this cold, wintry, windy day, let's talk about SOMA Breath versus the Wim Hof Method versus the Buteyko method. SOMA Breath is this: in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. The Wim Hof method is this: combined with a bit of this.
Under.
My shower doesn't work. And possibly a bit of this. And the Buteyko method is this.
So what I want you to do is just to concentrate on slowing that breath down.
So in this video, I'm going to do a guided 1-round breathwork session for each of those methods. I'm also going to give you a description of what they are, why you should do them, also why you shouldn't, if there's any contraindications that go along with them. I'm also going to drop links below for each of the methods so you can check them out further. And I'm going to do all 3 in the confines of my home because it would be certainly more pertinent to do so, especially for the SOMA Breath, because that includes music in the background as well. I'll drop some timestamps below so that you can go directly to each of the 3 breathwork sessions. And that's about it, so enjoy. Right, first thing to mention, apart from obviously I've shaved all my hair off, is that when I do come in from the cold after walking Winston, of course, I do wrap up warm. So for those that are new to the Wim Hof method, if you see me walking in my shorts and t-shirt whilst doing these videos, then in the cold, then of course, as soon as I come back in, I then wrap up, I layer up, and quite often I do a bit of this as well. So let's say I'm making myself a cup of tea. Whilst I'm doing that, then I'll quite often also just do some exercises like this, just to help warm me up. And just like Jean-Luc Picard, I like my Earl Grey. Okay, so let's start off with the Buteyko method. Now this is a really interesting practice. I first learnt about it in this, The Oxygen Advantage by Patrick McEwen. If you've not read this book, really is worthwhile doing. I know a lot of you people out there prefer to just figure stuff out via YouTube, and that's fine. Now I learnt how to get rid of my asthma by using a combination of that and the Wim Hof method. And the Oxygen Advantage talks a lot about the Buteyko method. The bit that I'm going to do here really is something that I think you should consider really just as a means to look at how you go through the rest of your day when you're not doing either the SOMA Breath or the Wim Hof method. So really just to point out, the Wim Hof method and SOMA Breath are things that you do for 2 or 3 rounds, and then that's it in a day. Don't do it any more than that, unless you're doing very specific protocols like the Awakening Journey on SOMA, where you can do a round of, say, 4 or 5. That's fine if you do it, say, once a week or something like that. That's perfectly fine. But if you're looking for just a daily exercise, a daily practice, do no more than 2 or 3 rounds of this kind of stuff, in my opinion, just because you are hacking your body in very much a positive way. You're creating positive stress responses. But I think too much of this stuff, especially around the intermittent hypoxia, can be too much, just like anything good in life. So let's crack on with it right now. So what I want you to do is get one hand on your chest, doesn't matter which one, and one hand on your belly. So this is a really good thing for beginners to concentrate on, because it helps you realize how you're breathing. If you are an over breather, if you're stressed or anxious, it's very likely you're just breathing up here in your chest and you're shallow breathing. The problem with that is that
you're not acting, or your body's not acting in an efficient manner. When we think about over-breathing, most people would assume that you're taking in, therefore, a lot more oxygen. Well, you're over-breathing, but what you're doing is you're taking in that oxygen, but your body doesn't know what to do with it. And because the body needs a relationship with CO2, but it needs the right balance of CO2 to make sure that the oxygen filters into the body's tissues. So the whole idea between all breathing methods really, and especially Buteyko, especially SOMA, especially Wim Hof, is that it gets you to breathe in a more efficient fashion. And especially when you're looking at intermittent hypoxia, it has you, I suppose, harmonize or rebalance your body's use of both oxygen and CO2. It makes it much more efficient. Really, what's silly about all of this stuff is that this is stuff that we used to know, or at least it's stuff that we were born with. We were born to breathe in the correct fashion, but then through our sedentary lifestyles, our stress and anxiety that most people tend to build up, you then start to breathe differently. So what I want you to do, again, hand here. Start to breathe slowly, only through your nose, both in and out. And what I want you to do is just concentrate on, when you breathe in, make sure your belly protrudes, so your belly extends. So you breathe in and out. Again, both in through the nose and out through the nose. And feel that when you start the breath off in the belly, and your belly extends, then just be aware of how the rest of your breath continues up into the chest. So as long as you start in the belly, you can still move that breath further up your torso. And that just makes sure that you've got a full lung full of air. And by putting your hands here, you can just get a real sense of that. So what I want you to do is just to concentrate on slowing that breath down. Just be aware of the cold air going in through the nose and the slightly warmer air coming out of the nose. And that's a real reason why we breathe through our nose. There's a reason why we have this. The nose cools down that air as it goes into your body. Now just figure on slowing it down. Keep slowing down that breath. And the whole idea now is, as you slow this down, I want you to get to the point where, in slowing down the breath, it feels like you need to take in more oxygen. It feels like you need to take a big, deep breath. So don't do this to the point where you feel uncomfortable, but just slow it down comfortably until it feels like you need to take in more air, but just keep with that same rhythm. And the whole idea, again, like SOMA, like Wim Hof, it's very much about a consistent breathing pattern. So in, out, in, out. Just imagine it's almost in a loop. So there's no pause at the end of each inhale and exhale. You just move gently into the next. And again, you're slowing it down just to the point where it feels like you need to take in more air, and then just keeping that same rhythm. idea is that you make sure that the breathing is quiet. So in this breathing exercise, you don't need to hear the breath in or the breath out. There are breathing techniques where you can make a noise because you're breathing through your throat effectively. But this one is really quiet. And that's it, you just keep it going. Just keep this slow rhythm. All through the nose, in through the nose, out through the nose. Making sure you're breathing in the belly. Just be aware of the sensation of breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. And that's it. So you just keep going, say for about 5 minutes. And the whole idea with this is that, especially when you start breath work, it's very likely that you might start doing your breathing exercise in the morning. Let's say it's the Wim Hof Method. And then you get to work and the work piles up on your desk. Your boss has a bit of a go at you because you're not producing the work on time, and then automatically your breathing changes. What I want you to do really is just to go about your day now being a lot more aware of your breath. As much as possible, keep reminding yourself to go back to breathing through your nose. And when you go to bed at night, again, something that Patrick will often talk about is the whole idea of taping up your mouth using microbial tape. And the whole idea really is that it tricks the body and brain and mind into just breathing through the nose. And you can reverse that mouth breathing if you are a mouth breather in time. And interestingly, things like snoring stops. So therefore your partner will find it much more attractive to sleep next to you. Again, lots more in this book. I'm not promoting it. I'm not paid to do this, but it's a good book. It's worth looking at. Okay, so let's talk about my old friend Wim Hof Method. I say my old friend because the Wim Hof Method was the method that kick-started evolution of Dave, really. So back in 2017, at the end of 2017, after my wake-up call, I started doing the cold showers and the breathing technique and the yoga of the Wim Hof Method. And it was those things combined that really did make a significant change in my life. A whole host of benefits, and all really the things that I'm doing now are all thanks to the Wim Hof Method. So the Wim Hof Method will always have a special place in my heart, although I'd have to say I now do the SOMA Breath, which is an enhanced version of the Wim Hof Method, and I'll come to that obviously after this breathwork session. Now the Wim Hof Method, for those that are new, is more than just a breath work. It is a combination of yoga, cold therapy, so becoming accustomed to the cold, and this breathing technique that is derived from pranayama and tumo breathing techniques. So very old, ancient breathing techniques. A lot of people have a problem with that. It's really strange. A lot of people comment with the statement, oh, well, the Wim Hof Method is just pranayama. Well, so what? For a lot of people, they didn't even know about pranayama. And so if this way of rebranding, of repackaging something means that these techniques are spread further across the world, then I'd say it's a good thing. It's helped me immeasurably. My mental health, my physical health have all significantly improved thanks to the Wim Hof Method. So let's talk about some of those benefits. There are many, so let's just talk about the really important ones and the ones that I've experienced myself. One of the early things that you get with the Wim Hof Method, though this is partly because of the cold therapy, is that you do get a strengthening in your psychology. And that's because you're making yourself do something that might otherwise at first appear painful or illogical, and that is to experience the cold and to make yourself experience the cold and enjoy the cold. And that has this incredible strengthening of your psychology. Tony Robbins does this every day. He has a cold plunge because he knows that sometimes his brain will tell him not to do it, and he pushes through that and makes himself get uncomfortable. David Goggins, another person that talks a lot about getting uncomfortable. And that's the great thing about the Wim Hof method. By making yourself do this every day, you will strengthen this in many, many ways. Now, another of the benefits is that the blood-brain barrier, the bit between your brain and the skull that protects your brain from toxins, actually gets an enhancement. It gets a strengthening by experiencing the cold. So again, another reason to do that is for that reason. The intermittent hypoxia bit of the Wim Hof method, same with the SOMA breath, has really interesting benefits to do with your spatial memory. It opens up dormant parts of your brain. And I have to say, I now realize that it is because of the Wim Hof method that I'm now driven, ambitious, I'm full of energy, and I've got this spark that I never used to have. And it is definitely down to the Wim Hof method. Yes, in part it will be down to the cold showers. And I think I put a lot more of it down to that previously, until I started doing more research and realizing from the studies that they've carried out on the Wim Hof method and SOMA, that actually it is to do with the intermittent hypoxia, and there are significant benefits that you'll get from doing that. So that's another really key bit here. If you're into exercise, if you are a runner, and I've done a couple of videos on this where I've practiced the Wim Hof method prior to running, automatically you feel like your whole body has become an effective, efficient running machine. It feels like the breathing is that much more natural. It feels like when you're running that you don't necessarily need to breathe in the same fashion as you did before. Less of a, or in my case, just everything flows. And that was the wonderful thing I experienced from doing this method, that with my running, it significantly improved. Now, this is a method that will help to, again, when you combine it with the cold, it's really good for those that suffer from arthritis or any kind of inflammatory condition. Two things occur. Not only with the cold does that help to reduce any inflammation inside, but also with the breathing technique itself that helps to reduce inflammation, even chronic inflammation, which is why both the SOMA breath and the Wim Hof method are now known practices for people with arthritis, MS, fibromyalgia. There's lots of testimonials now on the Wim Hof method from people that experience and have those conditions, and how they've been either able to relieve it significantly, or I think in some cases rid themselves of certain conditions. The breathing itself you can just do alone. You don't have to do the cold therapy. You will gain by doing the Wim Hof method daily. Don't overdo it. Only do 2 or 3 rounds of this per day. We'll get to that in a second. Now, the contraindications, I'll drop a list actually in the description below, as I have done with the SOMA breath. So let's crack on, shall we? And I'm going to do 1 round of Wim Hof breathing, followed by the breath retention. You can breathe along with me if you like, though I do recommend figuring out your own breathing pattern. With the SOMA breath, it is quite specific. You do breathe to a very specific breathing, timed breathing, and we'll come to that in the next session. But for the Wim Hof, I do recommend actually you breathe in a consistent, controlled, looping effect of breathing. That will have some benefit, and I think actually Wim Hof has possibly moved more to telling people to do that. So let's do that. But you might find that you want to breathe at a different rate to me. You can do this either sitting up or laying down. Most of the time I do the Wim Hof method laying down. Do breathe with your diaphragm. So again, breathing a bit like the Buteyko. So breathe in. When you breathe in, your stomach protrudes. When you breathe out, your stomach goes in. So and once we've done probably about 30-ish inhale, exhales, we're then going to exhale all the way and hold our breath, the breath retention phase. And if you're new to this, this is the really interesting bit. If this is your first time, your assumption will be, well, hang on a second, I've just breathed out all the oxygen, which is incorrect, by the way. How on earth can I hold my breath for a period of time? Well, this is going to be the really interesting bit for you. You will be able to hold it for much longer than you imagine. And that is because your body at any one time has between 95 and 99% blood oxygen, or rather oxygen in the blood. So when you know that, it's very easy to see, I think, how we can fall into the trap of over-breathing. If we've already got this highly oxygenated body, you can see why people that are stressed or anxious can very quickly switch to over-breathing. So this is why when you breathe all the way out on that last exhale and you hold, that because you've already got an oxygenated body, you really can hold for much longer than you imagine. And the CO2 level has changed, and because of that what would normally happen is that because of the CO2 level, you get a signal in your body to your brain that tells you to breathe. So let's say if you were to just hold your breath now, just by breathing in and then holding your breath, then because of the CO2 levels at that time, you would get a signal to your brain saying you need to breathe again, which is different when you do this method after hyperventilating, because that's effectively what you're doing, a forced hyperventilation, and then an exhale out. You're going to you will have tricked the body, you will have tricked the brain and body because you will have changed the amount of CO2 in your body, and therefore your brain is no longer going to get that signal to breathe again. Now, having said that, you will know when you want to breathe. But try and hold out for as long as you can, but do it in a controlled fashion. Be careful. What can happen is that people lose consciousness, they black out sometimes, which is why if you're going to do this practice, I think the first time you do it laying down. Definitely don't do it anywhere like in the water or anywhere that obviously if you were to pass out would be dangerous, such as when you're driving your car. I can't believe I have to tell you this stuff, but you know as well as I do this safely. It's a perfectly safe exercise so long as you don't have those contraindications listed below. Do just be a lot more present and aware of what's going on in your body. Like I said, you will know when it is the right time to breathe in again. After you have done the exhale breath retention and you're holding your breath, you're then going to breathe all the way in again and hold, probably say for about 20 seconds. And you're probably going to feel some nice feelings. If you've not done this before, you're going to get a few tingly sensations. You're going to feel good from doing this. So here we go. The Wim Hof Method. One round of it, probably 30-ish inhale, exhales, followed by breath retention, followed by an inhale, breath retention. I should also add, you can do this either breathing entirely through your mouth or entirely through your nose, or as I do sometimes, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Entirely up to you. You will get more from this exercise if you just breathe through your mouth. I don't like to breathe through my mouth really at all, but occasionally I might try it with the Wim Hof Method because you do get kind of a heightened feeling. But remember, once you've done the Wim Hof Method, if you are doing it through your mouth, do then start to think about the Buteyko method and think about just breathing through your nose throughout the day and night for the rest of your time in the day. If you are a mouth breather, try if possible just to do the mouth breathing whilst doing the Wim Hof Method. Crikey, that was a long ramble, wasn't it? Here we go. The Wim Hof Method. Remember, breathing from your belly. Now, you might not be able to see it. Here we go. So, hold. Hold. Okay, there we are, the Wim Hof Method. I like to end with a sigh. This is something I learnt with the SOMA Breath. The sighing noise is something that activates, or again, like all this stuff, activates the parasympathetic nervous system. And on every exhale, when I'm doing the SOMA Breath, I will breathe during the power breathing phase, much like the Wim Hof. I do a kind of a quiet sigh with every exhale. So now the breathing pattern for that will be very different with the SOMA Breath, and we'll discuss that shortly. Now to the SOMA Breath, my favorite one. It's my favorite one because it's deliberately done to music. It is deliberately done to a very specific rhythm. In this round, we're going to do a 4-4 rhythm. So inhale for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds. Then we're going to follow it up with a breath retention. So the same as the Wim Hof. And then we're going to do an inhale hold. And whilst we're doing the inhale, exhale, every inhale, I want you to practice clenching your Mula Bandha. I've mentioned this actually in my other video on the SOMA Breath guided meditation. The Mula Bandha is the Indian term for the muscles around the perineum. So it's something that obviously women, especially after childbirth, are encouraged to exercise daily. I appreciate that not everybody is able to really get a good grasp of those muscles. You will in time. The more you practice it, the more you stop your urinating flow, and you know, by clenching that muscle, do it daily, and you will start to develop strength in that area. And what I want you to do is every inhale, clench it. Exhale, release. Inhale, clench. Exhale, release. Okay, so imagine doing that, and I'm going to be guiding you through this one. So rather than me, I'll do some of the breathing, but I'm also going to guide you. What we're also going to be doing is breathing to a rhythm, and it's a 4-4 rhythm. So in for 4 seconds, out for 4 seconds. And the reason why we're doing that, and I've mentioned this in my other video, and I've gone into a lot more detail, but we're doing something called heart coherence. So effectively, you're harmonizing your autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is the governor, I suppose, of everything that's automatic in your body. So your heart rate, your blood pressure, Everything that just happens automatically without us thinking, that's governed by the autonomic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system are part of the autonomic nervous system. So this 4/4 rhythm is, well, you'll see a change in the music in a minute, and this music is going to be a little bit more energizing. So the other SOMA Breath video that I did was a 2/4 rhythm. So that was concentrating on making sure that the exhale was longer than the inhale. So the exhale triggers a parasympathetic response. So your rest, digest, feeling of calm. And that's why I wanted in that video, because it was all about really reducing your anxiety and your stress. I wanted that particular breathing pattern to be a 2/4, so that it made sure that your exhale was longer than the inhale. And by doing that, that helps to reduce your feeling of stress or anxiety. You know, just by simply, if you're at any point throughout today, if you sense any kind of stress or anxiety, do just consider doing this. So exhale through pursed lips really, really slowly. And just keep it going for as long as you can, really slowly. Do that 2 or 3 times, you're going to feel a lot more calm. So in a moment, you're going to notice a change in the music. And the music is going to guide you. And along with that, I'll be guiding you through the inhale and the exhale. I'll breathe in part with you, and then also in part I'll be guiding you through this. Remember the Mula Bandha. Remember to breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. You notice the change. Okay. Are you ready? Either laying down or sitting down, it's entirely up to you. Here we go. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Keep this consistent. Don't force the inhale, don't force the exhale. Keep the breathing in a loop. Sigh when you exhale. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Breathing from the belly. Sighing as you exhale. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Exhale out through the mouth. Don't forget to sigh on that exhale. And if you can clench the Mula Bandha, clench the perineum when you inhale and release every exhale. So clench in, release, exhale. Clench in, release, exhale. Remember that sigh. You should be feeling some tingly sensations. You're feeling the energy around your body. Feels good, doesn't it? Keep it going. Remember, in, and out like a loop. No pauses. That's good, keep it going. Remember that sigh, really makes a difference. Activating your parasympathetic nervous response. The rest, digest, feeling of calm. You're almost there. Let the music guide you. Out, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, in. Remember, no forcing. This is a relaxed breathing experience. And it's drawing to an end. Get ready soon to expel all your air, and then you'll be holding your breath. Keep it going. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 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 in, all the way. Exhale with a big sigh. Let out a little hiss at the end. And hold. Think of this as pausing on your breath and pausing therefore on life, and just enjoy this meditative experience, this feeling of calm, of relaxation. Enjoy this moment. There's no pressure at this point. When you feel the first urge to breathe, try a quick inhale, exhale, hold. So, hold. And if you want, you can try that again. But if you really do need to breathe, do so with a big inhale. So a big, and when you breathe in with that big inhale, clench the Mula Bandha and hold. And if you want, you can lock your chin by bringing it to your chest. If you're into your yoga, raise your eyes to the third eye. And you're holding. Imagine a ball of light rising up your spine from clenching that Mula Bandha. Keep it clenched if you can. And just imagine shooting of energy up your spine. And when you're ready, exhale with a big sigh. Then what I want you to do is return to a relaxed, conscious, slow breathing. And I hope you enjoyed that. So there we are, the 3 rounds there. Buteyko versus Wim Hof versus SOMA. I hope you can see the difference, and I hope you were able to gain something from those different breathwork sessions. As I say, with the Wim Hof, I would normally do 2 or 3 rounds a day. The same for SOMA Breath. I do the SOMA Breath more than I do the Wim Hof because I like the music, I like the breathing to a rhythm. SOMA Breath, when you dive into it, there's a lot more to it. If you do the instructor's course, then you learn a hell of a lot about various different breathing techniques and a whole host of other things, including things like ambidextrous movement. There's a whole list of things that come with SOMA Breath. It's a really interesting course that I would urge you to do, even if you're not willing or wanting to be an instructor. I am, by the way. I am now qualified, and I do want to be instructing others, and I've just started doing so. But it's a great course, I think, for everybody anyway, just because it really does open your mind to the benefits of a breathwork protocol. And the lovely thing about SOMA Breath is that it's a very easy way of meditating. And it's a very easy way of doing a breathing exercise that it won't feel like it's a chore. I think with the Wim Hof, I've been very disciplined with my Wim Hof practice for 2+ years. I've done it every day. And part of that discipline comes from the cold showers. My cold showers are in the garden. But I can see why some people with the Wim Hof, their enthusiasm starts to dissipate like it does with a lot of things in life. Even when we know we're doing things that are good for us, quite often we stop doing them. As I say, I've not done that with the Wim Hof method, and that's partly, I suppose, because of my intention behind doing all this anyway, but I can see why some people might stop. However, with the SOMA Breath, because it's guided, because it's done to music, the music, by the way, is just energizing, and because there's various different types of SOMA breath work, there's enough there to keep you interested, and there's enough there for it never to be a chore. So anyway, I'm dropping links below to the Wim Hof, to the Buteyko, to the SOMA. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it proved useful. Do keep coming back to it. If any one of those sessions were useful, then use them. Use them daily. It benefits me just as it does you. My aim is to grow this YouTube channel because I know that what I'm putting out there is of benefit to others. So if you watch my videos daily, of course it benefits me. But don't do it for that reason, of course. Just do it if you like it and you find it interesting and it works. Anyway, Evolution of Dave, signing off. I know when I stop doing this video, I'm going to think of a whole load of things that I should have told you, but hopefully there was enough information there for you. As I say, timestamps below. Bye. TTFN, Evolution of Dave signing off. Thank you for watching.